The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the short delay there. We had a little bit of technical difficulty, but we're ready to get started with our webinar. Our presenter this morning is Per Mogensen. He is the founder of Mergetool.com and the lead developer of NAV Easy Security and Mergetool. He has worked with NAV since 1992. After finishing his master's degree in engineering, he started working at Navision in Denmark. There, Per developed several of the basic features in NAV, like posting setup, VAT sales tax, distribution functionality, and was responsible for the localizations for several European countries. In 2000, Per moved to the U.S., where he started as development manager at Lanham Associates and the lead developer of eShip, ADCS warehousing, and history management. Since 2012, Per has been awarded the MVP status for Dynamics NAV for his contributions to the NAV community. So, without further ado, Per, I'm going to hand it right over to you.
Okay, thank you. I want to go through the NAV Easy Security solution today, actually, and it is a complete solution. I'll show you most of the Rotel client. Actually, you're going to use 2015 today, but the same solution works exactly the same one in the classic client. One of the nice things about this application is if you actually end up setting up security in the classic environment, when you move to the Rotels in the future, when upgrading, then you would actually be able to take a very large portion of your security with you. We basically have the same model moving forward. We have two pieces of the application. We have a field level action and data security, and it's all security beyond the standard NAV security. I will show you some of the features in here where we can hide fields and so on. The other part is roles and logins, and that's all the standard NAV things where we have a tool to be able to record permission as being the key feature in there. But let's look a little more at the roles and logins. I already mentioned the recorder in here, and it actually works both with the client monitor, but it also works with the SQL profiler. And with the SQL profiler, we can basically record any user in the database, whatever they're actually doing at that point. We can also group roles and companies, and when we group them, we actually minimize the amount of setup you have to do for each user, and you will see where you can typically get down to maybe only 1 or 2 records for each user instead of maybe even hundreds at one time. We can also deal with expiration, and that basically allows you to, when somebody is on vacation, assign temporary permissions to somebody, and then go ahead and add those permissions or remove them as the expiration actually happens. As important as the application we deliver is also the 100 or more new roles we actually do. We have created a whole list of roles for segregation of duties. Basically, none of these roles by themselves are breaking any of the segregation of duty roles or rules. So if you need to set up SOX level security, that would be a very good starting point. And as you will see, it's actually a good starting point even for getting into the standard NAV security. We also have restore points, basically allowing to roll back security to a previous point if we have permission problems with the new one, and then we have object level permissions in here. But all this one is a standard NAV security in here. The other part is, of course, when we go beyond standard NAV security, and we will do on pages and forms, we can make them read-only, or we can completely hide them, as you will see later. We can do the same for fields, take them away, or just make them read-only so people don't change them by accident. For actions or the buttons in the classic environment, we can actually control the access, so we can gray them out, or we can completely hide actions, really making a very simple screen by hiding fields that are unnecessary and hiding all the actions that people don't need to see at that time. And the last piece of that application is the ability to actually filter data. In that way, we can go in and only show the sales orders for the location you're working on as a warehouse person. We can show only salespeople their sales orders and things like that, for example. Let's go ahead and take a look at it, and I will start showing some of the features for the roles and logins. And after that, I'll go to the field level security. And when I get to the field level security, that is a little different in the classic environment, I'll actually also show part of it in the classic at that time. This one is actually a 2015 version of NAV in here, the latest one that was released like a month ago or so. If I take a look at logins, when I have a login in NAV and you look at the roles that you normally will need to assign, you will need to assign many different roles to be able to do a job. We actually allow you to build groups of those ones. So if I go and take a look at the groups in here, I can see I have a group sales down here, and it has the basics so people can log in. They have the access to perform all the processes that they actually are supposed to do as a user in here. We can also take these groups and build on top of each other. So instead of just having a single group for each, you actually kind of build the lowest level, and then you just add them together or add additional permission as people will need them. So a lot of times you will really only need to assign one group to a person if they only do one job in your company. One thing that also makes security kind of tricky is that when you have more companies in the database, like in my database I actually have 4 companies that are all called Kronos up here, I can actually build a group of those ones. So instead of assigning 25 permissions or access controls to a user for the task they do, and then do that in 3 different companies, we can actually build a group of the companies, making it easy in the future to add another one, but also very simple to assign access to multiple companies. So basically I have a group sales and I have a company group operations in here. And that basically is only one line for me, but if I use this function here, update login, I would actually need to maintain 30 access controls, meaning the combination of roles and companies in here. We also built something that is called summary permission, and it basically means that the permissions for each object are being summarized. So even if I had many tables or many roles giving me access to the tables, I really only have in my summary permission a single record telling me that in the vendor ledger entry the user only have read permission in here, and that's the same for both companies. So in that way, that's typically what an auditor would ask for. They don't care about all the other levels of setup. They only want to know what is the total permissions for this table. It's also a very good way of verifying that you don't by accident give people too much permission and suddenly they can do things they are not supposed to do in here for your own audit purposes. The other thing that happens is that some people will be on vacation and suddenly somebody else needs to do it in here. And I have this group operation manager in here. And it could be that John needed to be the operation manager for North America in here. And as I add that one, when I update my role, I can see he now got 10 more access controls in here. If I 3 weeks later have to figure out what I have to take away from John, that's normally is one of the problems. With the expiry, I can go in and say this one is only going to be active until the 8th of November down here, and at that point that permission won't be active any longer. So I have an easy way of figuring out what to take away, and at the time when it happens, I'll only check this no permission in here. And we can use that manually also to take away old permission when you're working on new security and so on. The exact same feature exists on a user also. So you can actually put an expiry date on a user, or I can take all the user's permissions away simply by checking a box up here at that point. But maintaining users is kind of an ongoing task. where when you're setting up security, you need to build roles, and that's where you can spend many hours building roles. Even a single role can easily take more than 1 hour because it's a lot of trial and error. The way we actually build roles is by using a recorder in here. And with 2015 here, I'm going to use the SQL profiler in here. I will start a new trace, and I can go in and filter on different things if I wanted to in here, but in general, since I'm alone on this system, I'm just going to run the trace, and it will actually capture all the permissions or all the transactions going against the SQL database. I could also capture another user connecting. Right now I'm going to only capture myself, but you could have a user that connected with a tablet or with a browser, and you would still be able to capture their permissions out here. I'll go in here and I will modify a customer. And all I want to do is just type a single change to the address in here. So I modified one single field and then closing it so it will save it in the database out there. In the meantime, the profiler has been tracking what went on out here. And I'm going to stop that and save it as a trace XML file out there. And it will be an edit customer one. I will then go back into my Easy Security, create a new role, edit customer in here. I'll add a recording, and that recording I'm going to import from a SQL profiler trace out here. So as I open up that one, it's sorting it by database, by user, by company, and so on. And I could select different one if I wanted in here. Since in my system I was the only one working, so I actually just going to select all of them. And just editing a single customer actually cost me to need 101 permissions in here. And that's both the force of the security system in NAV, but it's also the reason it's very cumbersome to deal with. So I can see in here on my customer table, I needed read and modify. I needed a read permission for many places. I needed to modify my contact down here. And if I go down to the bottom, I'll actually see we also know what pages and code units were being used. And that actually allows us a whole new level of security. With the object level security and Easy Security, we can go in and say we have a list of objects we don't want people to use. And then Easy Security built a role that have the opposite. So we can take away the chart of accounts, the general ledger entries, the posted customer ledger entries, and so on, or the page that would actually be showing the human resource, employee card, and so on. All these things we can take away, and if we record that the user needed, then they will get the permission for it in here. But let's go ahead here and add my new recording in here, and I'll use this function to update the role in here. And that's actually the second part of the Easy Security, because my 101 permissions suddenly turned into be 157 in here. And that's really because I don't have to do every little drill down when I'm recording permissions in here. I recorded that I needed to modify my customer, and because I can modify my customer, I should really have read permission to the salesperson, the shipment method, the location, and so on. And all those things are actually added in here automatically by Easy Security in here. So I do the most basic process, and Easy Security will capture a lot of those extra permissions in here. If it happens to be something was missing, I would of course always just create another recording and attach my new recording to the existing roles, and that would actually be how I would also correct problems with security. These two tools are nice to maintain users on an ongoing basis, and you have a tool that can build new roles in here. You would still need to do quite a lot of work and define how you want the security in here. And that's the last piece we actually deliver with Easy Security in here. So if I look at this spreadsheet in here that actually explains what we have done in here. Basically, for sales receivable, we can go in and define one little task in here, like the one I just did with edit customer. First of all, when you look at one task, it's very easy to see that the user in that task can do what they're supposed to do, and it's very easy to correct also if they can't do what they're supposed to do. And in that way, you really would end up with one task for each part of Navision in here. And it will look like how many would I really need? Would it be 200, 500, and so on? For the sales, purchase, finance, and inventory module in NAV, we created all these ones originally, and it only is 80 roles actually. And you can combine them in many, many different ways, but there really is only a very low number of individual tasks in here. All these roles are predefined with Easy Security. They're all based on recordings. So when I saw all these extra permissions being added, if you had Lannon's eShift, for example, and EDI, you would have a lot of new table relations. But those permissions would actually be added to the roles that we deliver, since we deliver them as recordings in here. We also have recorded roles for the role centers and things like that one that allow people to see data, but not necessarily change it in here. And then we have some technical one where we minimize the setup in general in here. So when you have all these new roles in here, we can now go look at people and what our different jobs need to be doing in here. The customer service should view customers, edit customers, but not create them, and so on. And all the other small tasks down here. This one is now an easy decision how you actually want to divide your task in your company out here. And it really have nothing to do with security any longer, because all these roles are now only defining one little task in the system in here. And each of these columns in Easy Security would actually be a role group in here. So if I look at it here, I have one called e-customer service, and it's basically all the small tasks that this user is needed to be doing in here. And if somebody later on decide, oh, this one, they actually need to be creating vendors also in here, I'll go in and say, okay, e-customer create in here. I will allow them to do that also in here, and all I will have to do is change the role group in here. Everything I have done until this point have been offline. I have not changed anything in my production database. So I could have been an IT person with very low permissions, only inside this company where we keep security data, and only to these few tables that is about security. When I now need to publish permissions, that's when I actually need the full permissions in here. I'll click publish up there. I have been doing several updates to see the data. All those things are actually happening automatically during a publishing here. So if I had new tables added and I have a new table relation, those ones would actually be added to my roles automatically in here. Before we change anything, we create a restore point. So if the new permissions don't work out well, we can very easily put the back ones or the old ones back again. So we won't have any issues where we'll spend 3 hours trying to figure out what permissions people used to have, and then ending up giving them super because we couldn't revert to the old permissions in an easy way. But basically, it have finished publishing the permission, and my permission would now be active for John out there. So, yeah. This application is exactly the same in the classic environment. It looks a little different, of course, but it's the same features you have for recording and also building groups and things like that one. And as you saw with the roles, when you add all these extra permissions, that's also what saves you when you upgrade. Because a lot of things changes during an upgrade, but we only need in our recording to know that, oh, you need to modify the customer, you need to modify the contact and these few things, and then underneath all these new relations are going to be added in here for you. Yeah, I don't know if anyone have any questions or anything to this one, or else I would actually continue with the second part of the application.
So far, we do not have any questions typed into the question box, but of course, if anyone has them, feel free to type them in. We'll call them out and get them answered.
Okay. Yeah. So the other part of this application is all the things you can't do with standard NAV. I changed the customer, but when I changed the customer, I could have changed the credit limits. I could have changed the posting and so on. That's what we can accomplish with FieldLevel Security in here. And if I take a look at it as it is right now, I'll go take a look at my sales order, and I can see up here all my action looks completely normal. If I go down and look at a single sales order, every field is editable, and every action can be used up here for this user in here. And I'm using 2015, and I will show this one actually in the classic environment afterwards in here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to basically go in and say, yeah, I don't know how good my security is with the standard NAV, but I'll make every user read only in here by default, and then I will open up for the one that needs to be different. By doing that one, I'll basically go in and say for the blank user, I'll have this read-only security set up in here. If I now go back, look at my sales orders, it'll be very different. My menu items all grays out up here. If I go look at a single order, every field is now grayed out. I can't change anything anymore in here. So everything is now completely read-only for me. I can't click on any button or anything up here. That was a little more than I wanted for me as a user in here. I want to go in and say when I log in with the user here down here, I want to go in and I don't want to have my read-only setup. I actually want to have my basic setup in here. So if I now go back, look at my sales order, I'll see that my statistics button is now active. And I can click on that one and it will show my statistics. I can also see my sell-to customer number is editable, but I can't really change the address or anything. So I could still create a new order and I could select the customer, but the billing information would not be for me to change in here. If I look under shipping, I'll see that I have a few editable fields, but in general, foreign trade, prepayment, all those things are now grayed out and I can't change them any longer. If I take a look and say, okay, that's fine, but let's look at the credit memos in here. Credit memos will still be completely read-only in here. I can't click on statistics, I can't change anything at all in here. It's completely locked down for me in here. So let's go ahead and take a look then at that basic role, how that setup actually works in here. For each object in the system showing the sales header, we can have a different setup in here. And if I go take a look at it, page 0 being the default again, I have set everything to be view in here. So yeah, every screen will show up, but they will be read-only. And I have actually defined a control up here that also makes it all the buttons disappear in here. Then I can go in on my page for the sales quote. I left that editable and I didn't do anything. So basically it will look completely normal actually. My sales order, I specify fields and controls. I could also go in and hide pages. So I actually used my sales order statistics, and I'll actually go in here and say I want to hide that one. I don't want to let people actually see that screen in here. It could also be used in the GL entries, in the chart of accounts, and similar places. In this one, I can see I have 13 fields. And if I look at the details, it's the same concept. Field 0, I'll say, okay, it's view in here. I'll also go in and say, now I want to hide this one now. Now I want to hide every field, and they can see my customer, but they shouldn't change it. The ship to is fine. I'll leave that alone in here. The controls are all the actions, and the option out here is actually the same. So I'll go ahead and hide all of them by default. And then I want to add one down here, and it should be my post and print. And I will just go in and say that should just be view. So I want to let people see there's a post and print button, but I don't want to let them click on it in here. So I only made a few changes to my data. As I now go back, look at my sales order, it'll be very different. I didn't do anything on my list, but on the order itself, I have my post and prints is only true together with the statistics up here. If I click on statistics, it just tells me that that page cannot be viewed in here. All the fields are gone in here. I can see a little of my shipping tab down here, but my foreign trade and prepayment is completely blank down here. There's no fields left in here. So it allows me complete control of the page in here actually, to be able to hide fields and to be able to control each individual action up here. If I look at these ones, they are of course all empty because there is only these few things that are actually allowed in here. And statistical, of course, was the one I didn't allow people to use anyway. So, yeah, but that's basically how the field level security works in here. This one is for the 2000s or for the rotor environment. The same functionality exists for the classic environment actually also. It's very, very similar. And let me go here and say I want to set up user security setup. First I want to make it all read-only like I did before. I can now see that my buttons are now grayed out and every field up here is read-only in here. I went down here and said for the user here in table 36, I went in and selected the basic one in here. If I now open up my sales order, my order button came back on again and I can click on statistics. I have my sell to customer number editable, but I don't have my address. If I click on shipping, I'll have multiple fields in here being editable actually in here for me. I can do the same change as I did before and say we have 6 objects specified out here. And 0 again being the default for all the forms. I'll go in and say now I want to add my form for sales order statistics and I want to go hide that one. For my sales order, I had the field specified out there and I will go make them hide. I will view my sell to. My buttons, I want to hide all of them, and my order button. And here's the only difference really between the rotor and the classic application. In classic, we can only control the buttons in here. So I can actually put the posting button on, but I can't control the individual menu items on that one. But I have made basically the same change as I did before. If I go look at my order, on my general tab I have one field left. Most of my buttons are gone or grayed out. If I click on statistics, I get an error that I'm not allowed to see the data in here. And that basically is the set of features in here that it's allow you to control with the field level and action security in here. The last part of this application is also data security. And it's really two sides of the same thing in here. If I wanted to limit what people could actually see in my list of customers, I could go in and say for my customer posting group, I have customers in multiple posting groups in here. I'm going to click on OK down here. So I can see I have EU, domestic, and foreign, and so on. If this user I'm working with should only see the one for domestic or by default, I can apply a filter in here. And it's the same user setup in here. And one of the reasons is completely independent from the regular setup is we also want to be able to control super users or users with very high level of permissions. And by having a completely separate setup for our field level and data security, we can do that very easily in here. If I look at my data security code, I have one out here called domestic. And again, it's the same concept. Each object in the system can have its own setup. So when I go to page 0, any page showing the customer in here, then I will have a filter applied for my customer posting group. It's hidden for blank or domestic, all my location codes, and I actually left this filter editable in here. So the user can see it and they can also remove it. There's no way to get around the other filter. But that's for the blank or blue out here. If I look at my customer list that I used for all the lookups, I only put the hidden filter in here. So they can see multiple locations, but they can't actually get to the rest of it. But let's go back and select my domestic data security code in here. And I will then go back and open up my list of customers in here. So I can see in here under my customer posting group, I now only see the one with domestic. And it's not like there's any filters up here that I can't get rid of. I still only see the one for domestic in here. We also had a filter for the blue location. So if I actually try to open up this customer that is for yellow location, it will tell me that that record was not available, and it will actually show me the first customer that is domestic and blue down here. So you can have salespeople that can see the complete list of sales orders, but they can only edit the sales order. They are the salesperson. You could also have multiple departments in a company, and they would only see their own orders, and when they try to open one, they could maybe only edit the one that was not released, for example, in there. There's many different ways this functionality can actually be used in there. But this one is really the two parts of Easy Security. There is the roles and logins, the standard NAV functionality, and then we have these extended features that when it's not enough, then you will go in and actually use those features to build security for places like finance, GL accounts, GL entries, all the sales document flows, purchase documents, and things like that one actually. Yeah, well, let's go back here again, and I don't know if there's any questions that has been typed in or.
So far, I don't have any questions, but I will continue to keep an eye on it. If anybody has a question, please feel free to type it in, and I will call it out.
Okay, thank you. So to talk about this one, it's actually available for 2.6 executable, and we really don't care what database version you use. I don't think anyone uses something much before 2.6 any longer anyway. But basically we run on any version of NAV. We only have new objects, so there's no merge required when you get Easy Security. It's just new objects. The FieldLevel Security will require an install process to run to actually add the code necessary, but the same install process can also remove the code again, actually. We currently have the product available in 8 languages. In US that's not so much of interest, but it's in Europe it is. So the roles and logins, including restore points and all the other features, is $2,500, and that's actually for your NAV license. So if you have 20 users or you have 100 users, the software basically costs $2,500 in here. That's also include all the new roles that we actually deliver with the solution. Field level and data security is basically the same. $2,500 US, and if you get the complete solution, it's $4,500 for that one.
Per, I do have a question.
We also offer support and training. Yeah.
Okay, great. So the question is, how are user-defined custom fields handled in security?
Since we only have new objects, we really don't know what is custom fields, what comes from Microsoft, or what actually came from an ISV. We handle all fields and functions the exact same way, actually. So there's no difference for us in the way it actually works. when we run the installation wizard for Easy Security, we will actually go in and scan the actual source code, so all the changes in a customized database will be accounted for exactly the same way as any base code. Yeah. But we also offer training and support actually in our application also at that time. And of course, ABC Computer will need to attend a part of that one because they're the one that know how your technical system is set up for that portion of it. Yeah. Antoine was actually our first customer in Atlanta, and the system are much more intelligent than at the time he was using it. It used to take him 2 hours, and now it only took him 5 minutes to create a new role. And in 90% of the time, it was actually right the first time, so he didn't have to go back and do another recording. And the other one is from Dennis Harris, is actually another one of our easy customers. So it's really the ease of setting up new roles that are the largest benefit of the roles and Lockins application.
I do have another question referring back to the training and support. It is what training and support offerings are available?
Yeah, let me go to our website because all our documentation is available on our website. And if you look out here, you'll see documentation and FAQ, and we have a long list of videos, YouTube videos, but we also have basically the same process written as a how-to document. So when you're trying to accomplish something, a lot of time the how-to document is easier to follow out here. But one of the things we have here is a document about our online training and setup. So we have a section of requirement, what is needed. Then we will do a technical install running the wizards and things like that one. And that typically require that a partner license would be used actually during that process, so ABC would typically attend that. The other part is the roles and logins, and we will do a portion in our system, but we will do probably 2/3 of the whole training inside your database. So when we run the install wizard as part of the technical one, we can do the training directly in your system actually. And it's 2 to 3 hours to go through that training, and we actually have videos for all the things that we normally do. Same thing is about FieldLevel Security. We will do a little portion of it in our system, and then we'll switch it and actually use your test environment where we have set up Easy Security in actually at that point. And that's what is covered by our training in here. We always record all our trainings, so when we're done with it, you'll get a copy of the training. The support for Easy Security cover the application. It does not recover repeated data debugging. So if you have roles you just can't get to work again and again, that's not part of the fixed price support. But if you don't understand how the object level security don't work, or we didn't go through it during the training, that's one of the things we will do for the fixed price support also of Easy Security. So, but basically all these documents are available from our website. You just go out here and look under documentation and FAQ, and you can get to all of them, including all the videos and everything else. Yeah. And that's basically the same as this slide is saying, by the way, that you can find all the information on our website out there.
I do have another question. Can we purchase the field level actions data security portion without the roles logins part?
Yep, it works perfectly as itself. It's not a replacement for standard NAV security. So if people are super users, you can go to the development environment and run the table and kind of bypass it. So you don't, it's not a, but if you have good roles that are already working pretty well, you can get the field level security and implement that one. Or you can use field level security to simply tighten down a few places like the customer card or chart of account and things like that one. But it's not to be mistaken that regular security is still necessary, and then FieldLevel Security will make it real precise after that. Yeah, so that was basically what I planned to go through in here. So the key things, we have over 400 customers now that are using Easy Security, and they're spread all over the world. We have customers in 50 countries now, actually. And we have a very, very stable application. There's really no known issues in it, and as soon as we will find one, we actually normally fix it and release it. So as you just keep on being updated to the most current objects you can find on our website, you will not have any issues typically using our application.
I do have another question, and my window, there we go. Is a Mergetool Excel template provided so the customer can complete the template offline at their site, and Mergetool have an import application to initially load the security into the customer's database?
No, it isn't. The Excel spreadsheet is more to show you what we have actually done. If I look here under the folder, this one is a folder for the most current version out here. The spreadsheet is actually included in here, and you can actually go here to the Downloads tab. If you go down, you can either download the spreadsheet by itself in here, or you could always download the latest version up here. So you can actually get the spreadsheet that way. The other part in here, this file is 3.5 megabytes. It's actually all the roles that are in here pre-recorded, and those ones you can load into NAV when you actually get Easy Security in here. We also import the demo data that we have, so the customer service and things like that one, we can actually import those ones also if you want. But really when you're defining, when you get to the second part of this one, about defining the users, it's much more about how you want it and not necessarily the roles we have. So yeah, you can have somebody fill it out in the spreadsheet, but you would need to create the role groups manually inside Easy Security. But the roles itself, they're all delivered, they're all based on recordings, so they'll have all these features about picking up all these extra permissions in here. So I can see when I recorded my customer edit, we actually do a little more in the real recording in here. There's a few other things we do, so I actually end up with 225 permissions actually. So, but yes, all the data is delivered, but we don't have an import of the actual spreadsheet into Easy Security.
And I do have another one. Will the install of the tool solution cause any issues with the existing security defined?
No, it basically takes the place of the normal maintenance. The first thing we do with the wizard is actually to copy your current security into Easy Security, and from then on you go on to maintain security from inside Easy Security. See, I actually went here and changed John, and if I go search for my users setup in here, I can actually go in here and see John's permissions in here. And if I go down here at the bottom, I'll see all the things that we actually assigned to John in here is now assigned in here. And we don't prevent anyone from changing it in here. So I could still go here and actually delete it if I wanted to in here. But next time I will publish from Easy Security, we will write the permission that we thought John should have at that time. So that actually, it don't prevent you from changing it, but you should really use Easy Security for maintaining security as soon as you use that application, because it simplifies it a lot, but it didn't prevent you from doing a temporary permission for assigning somebody super data when they just cannot do a process, for example. One thing that, by the way, is really cool about 2013 R2 and 15 is that the security where you normally have to log out of NAV and get back in to pick up the new security, that's not how it works any longer. It actually, as soon as you change the security, it will actually apply to the user. So let's say you actually have a permission error. Somebody can't go through a certain process. You start the recording process, You tell the user to get ready at that point. Then you assign them the super data permission inside the regular permission, and then they go through the process, and then you delete the super data inside the regular permission. Now for that short second when they did that process, they actually had the full permission, and you recorded what they went through. So as an IT person that maintains security, you don't even have to know it. You don't even have to be able to do that process. You assign them just for a short time permission enough to finish it, at the same time recording it, and now you got that set of permissions needed for that one process. So it's actually a pretty neat feature that now security is all floating, but you don't want to use that one for anything else than that, because Easy Security basically owns it. Sorry, that was a very, very long answer. Yeah. Yeah, but that was basically what I expected to show. This, I think we probably have 6-7 hours of videos actually, also digging down in details on our website also to find more information about Easy Security.
Perfect. Sorry, did you hear my last question? Because I don't know if I unmuted myself. Here's the question. I'm not sure if I was...
It was quiet.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had myself on mute. Here we go. Does Mergetool provide user assistance tech support at a cost? And if so, what's the cost?
We prefer not to. We like to train in our application because we're probably the one that know most about it. But for actual repeated issues and so on, we really don't have the capacity for it. And we're not planning on it. But we will be happy to train in our application. And we do that. We have trained over 100 customers now in using our application. But we, in general, don't deliver tech support for anything except our application at that time. And especially about the data, we don't sit down and record all the permission and use our tool. We train in how to use it. But as a customer, you will be the one using it. Or, of course, ABC can always do those things. We have already worked on a few customers together, actually, where ABC did the recording and setup, and as a customer, you didn't have to do that with them.
And here's another question. Is format training available at both a specific company location and at the customer site?
I think it cut out.
I'm sorry about that. I'll repeat it. Is format training available at both a specific company location and at the customer site?
We only do online training. As this demo is done online, we use GoToMeeting, and we will actually do the training online, and we will just switch to be you as a presenter for the major part of the presentation or for the training, and we will also record all training sessions. So when we're all done with the training, you get a copy of it. But we really don't offer on-site training because typically our training in the complete system is between 5 to 6 hours or so.
All right, we've got a few more minutes before the scheduled end of the webinar. I don't want to cut anyone off if there's any further questions. We've gotten quite a few so far, and again, feel free to type those into the question box. We'll call them out and get them answered. Here's one. We just want to double check training and support is part of the setup charge?
You can find it. I won't call it necessarily setup charts because we can't do everything ourselves without ABC Computer helping us, because ABC Computer is basically one knowing how your system is working technically. But our parts of the roles and Lockins training and the FieldLevel Security includes actually running through and install with the basic settings in here. When the support also is in here. So the $1,250 basically includes training for roles and logins, training for field level and security inside your database with a fully working system when we're done, and then also future support in application features of our system. Yeah, so I won't say that it won't cost you anything extra except these numbers added together, because ABC, of course, will also have to assist us with the technical install in the beginning.
We have another question. Can we obtain a demo of the full product?
Not without having a license for it. It's very hard to give a demo for something that is written inside NAV because you don't have a license that can actually run it at that time. So in general, we don't offer demo versions, especially if they were actually using your actual code, because as soon as you would have a demo, you would also be able to, of course, build roles and security for your system. So no, we don't have a complete demo version available. We have one that is built inside a normal database, but again, it requires a setup for SQL Server and for service tiers to be able to use that now.
Okay, do we have any further questions, or do we need any follow-up on any questions that we've already had answered? Here's another one. What functionality does the Lite version have?
Oh yeah, that's actually a really good question. The Lite version of Easy Security it was built to make a better case on security for smaller customers. And it was made in cooperation with Microsoft, actually, some people. When you look under users, first of all, there's a very big difference. There's no field level and data security period in here. When you work with users, you're working on the live data in here. So there's no offline the same way as it is. You have a couple of wizards, like one that allow you to add multiple roles in multiple companies at the same time in here, and it will allow you to add roles that don't already exist, for example, in here. So it add all those ones to join in here, and I can see those ones adding out here. It also have an ability to copy from one user to another, and you can either add new ones or you can completely replace the permission. But again, it just works on the data that is in here. There's no grouping. The other side of the Lite product is that we can also work with permission sets in here. And we have a few functions in here, like let's say I wanted to do another edit customer Lite in here. And I can go down and say, now I know that when I edit customer, I need to use table 18 and basically have read, insert, modify, delete permissions down here. When I now have this line, I can go add related permission. It's not a very sophisticated source code analysis as you have in the full person product. It's basically just using the field table to find the simple relations in here. But again, very helpful to actually add many customizations in here, for example. So that allows you to do that one. We can also import our trace in here. So if I actually go and import my SQL profiler trace, the same file that we actually did before can be used by the Lite product, and we can add related permissions also in here. As it imports, the complete free edition only allows certain ranges in here, basically allowing you to correct for normal customizations and to have a few tables in the normal range in here. But I can see it actually imported permissions, and some of them were added down here, like read to my customer ledger entry, for example. So there is certain things actually also in the complete free version to import a trace in there. But again, that is limited to only certain ranges. It comes with no demo data, so there is no additional roles added. It's basically intended to correct the one that comes from Microsoft. You can actually go register the Lite product, and it costs $250 to register the Lite product. And you get a registration key that allow you to go in and basically unlock the recording. You still record only table data. There's none of the object level security features in here at the same time either. So the Lite product allows you to work with the data the way Microsoft delivers security and to improve the one they have delivered with the complete free version. And by unlocking it, you can build new roles, also using add-ons and so on, but it's not closely with the same level of features as the full product. Yeah, so that's basically the features of the Lite product. It works on the live data, and it's a limited set of features that improves how security is handled. If you just look at the time saving from getting 115 already created and recorded roles in here, instead of doing it yourself, if you're building segregation of duty level security, that's for sure worth every dollar of the extra value. If you just need to get the sales and receivable customer edit to work properly in your environment, the Lite product is probably what you're looking for at that time.
And also a question about the Lite product. Can field level security be performed using the Easy Security Lite version?
Nope, absolutely not. None of those features are in the Lite product. They only exist in the full version. But you can have the Lite product for the standard NAV security, and then you can buy only the field level security if you need. But one thing to remember is not a replacement for standard NAV security. So no, field level is not included in the Lite product.
Okay, I don't have any questions standing in my question box. We want to take a minute just to make sure we've gotten all the questions answered. If anyone has any further, feel free to go ahead and type them in. We have one more.
One thing I haven't. Okay.
Go right ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, we've got one more coming. It's just being typed right now.
Okay. There's not a lot of reports currently in Easy Security. We're actually planning on adding some in the future. But if you need very specific auditor reports, there is a company called FastPass that is actually doing a very good job at looking at NAV security plus also what's outside and actually giving auditors the information. So if you need Sarbanes-Oxley level reporting, you can do it based on some of the data we have, but they actually have all the reports ready inside their system. Actually, you can take a look at that at their website. Yeah.
Okay, I thought we had one more. So far, I haven't received it. Oh, here we go. How does this product interact or not work with the LANM Security add-on?
LANM Security works in the classic environment. There's no LANM security in the row-tailed environment. Basically, for the classic environment, what is happening is very, very similar. So if you have LANM security and field level security, you would get very similar functionality for the fields, but you would of course also be able to control the buttons in here. And the data security is a lot more flexible with this setup than it is with the LANM. One licensing difference is in the LANM product you need one table for each table you want to do it with, so you need to buy table groups. For this product, it's a general structure for field level and data security, and you don't need any extra tables. If you want to protect 200 tables, it's the same price as if you want to protect 5 tables. And people that know me also know that the LANM security was actually one of the things I have written before, by the way.
Okay, We have another question. Can we implement your solution without breaking things as is now? In the case that the LANM, I think this is part of the same question, in the case that the LANM package is already installed.
I wouldn't say yes to that necessarily. It depends who gets the last line of code. And I would strip out the LANM one before you implement this one. If it's inside the rotor environment, the LANM security don't have any functionality in there, and you would be able to implement this security with no problem at all. But in Classic, if you're running Classic, I would say you probably want to strip out the LANM one first before implementing this one. We hit the same place in the code basically, the on open form trigger. There'll be one line of code up there, and then there'll be quite a large trigger with all the code in. And stripping out the LANM code is quite easy. You delete the trigger and you delete the line of code, and then you run our wizard to add it, and that's basically what. But the stripping out of the LANM code is manual. We have a process where we can actually remove it automatically in here with a process. The same way we implement code, we actually also delete changes in code. So there's no future impact on upgrades or anything from those code changes.
Okay, so just to follow up to that question, it sounds like turning off the LANM security isn't that big of a deal then.
No, it really isn't. It requires that you have access to the code on the forms, and you just strip out one trigger or one function, and then one line of code, and then you run our implementation, and that's it.
Okay. We have another question. And the Mergetool installed inside of NAV, or is it running outside of NAV?
The Mergetool is a developer application, and it's written inside NAV, but it only uses NAV as a development environment. If the decision would have been made a long time ago to write it in Visual Studio with its own table structure and all kinds of things, it could have been done like that one. But it's written 100% inside NAV, so yes, it runs inside NAV, but it have normally no integration with the application now. It will be a completely different database. It just uses it for storage and to have a very efficient development environment.
Here's another question. Does Mergetool have a classic to NAV 20XX version tool that provides a seamless, easy upgrade path?
I don't think there exists a seamless, easy upgrade path, but yes, it has all the tools in it that would be required for that process. We used to actually do boot camps, and I know Mike Duster is still doing some of those, where we basically will come in and say, okay, we will start with your classic application, and then we'll see how far we can get in a week actually. And during that process, we will go through all the tools, and they're all inside the Mergetool. Basically, transformation of forms to pages, adding request pages to forms, changing menu suites. When you get to 2013 or 2009 Rotor, we will take the application, the forms or pages we have built, and actually move them up to 2013 using the Mergetool. But I won't say it's completely seamless. All the tools are there. There's going to be a lot of hours spent, and what you will see is especially reports are considered complete rewrites because of the RDLC being majorly different from the old style of laying out reports. You probably need to consider redoing 90% of your reports, I would say, in a different tool than what's inside NAV potentially. Yeah, but it's not like click 7 buttons in a row and you have a 2015 application. But all the tools you would need for that one, many of them require many hours of work, would be inside Mergetool. there's certain limitations to the Mergetool based on what Microsoft allow a customer's license. So even if you buy the highest level of development, there are certain things Microsoft actually don't allow you to do if you haven't purchased the complete application also. So it's, I would say for certain things, a partner license would be required because they're the only one that have the full ability to export to text at that point. Yeah.
Okay. I know some people will want an offline follow-up after the meeting, which we can definitely do. You can send me in a question now with your contact information. You can contact ABC directly. You can email. You can phone call. I just want to make sure that if we have any more questions here during the webinar that I don't skip over those, and I'm sure you can see Per has his contact information there on the screen.
Yeah. We will be happy to do a demo also of the actual things that you maybe had as specific issues, and we do a lot of those ones. I would say the next 3-4 weeks or so, we are traveling and we don't really have time for additional demos, but coming December, we should have time again to actually demonstrate online the application with your specific scenario. As you can see, we have every version of NAV in here, so, and we have Easy Security in all of them. So it's just a question of picking the one that looks like the one you have, and then we can show the same features that you have seen today.
Wonderful. Well, it looks like at this point we are finished with live questions. I just want to remind everyone that they can contact us after the meeting like we just discussed. Also, that we will have a recording of this webinar up on our website, which is abc-computers.com. You'll be able to watch the recording as long as the technology works and the video sends itself over there. And we really thank you for attending our webinar today. Per, thank you so much for your great presentation. I know it was really helpful to a lot of customers who are looking at this option. And we wish everyone a great rest of their day.
Thank you.